right, so you saw this one coming. We're doing a post from the client, so we've got to handle that post on the back end, or else nothing really happens, right? So let's go ahead and just add a post method to our handlers before. So if you looked at the jQuery, you can see that it's actually going to the same path as the get, which is fine. And so what we need to do is we need to go into our back end, and we're just going to need to add a method for post. And then the first thing that I'd like to do in the post is I'd like to get out the data that was sent to me. So this works just like we did in other things. So it's going to be self.request.get, and one of them was called start, and then the other one was called ending, I believe. And so we're pulling these two things out, making sure your variable names are all right, just like we did before. And that's actually because jQuery chose to package it that way. So they chose to package a post just as if it was a form being submitted. If you were doing this without jQuery and you just sent a JSON object, you might have to do some different things. But using jQuery makes it easy, and it's just like code we wrote ages ago on getting these parameters. And then, to be honest, if we wanted to use those and send back a JSON reply, it's really not that different from what we did before. So we need to say that what we're going to send you is JSON. We need to prepare a response that's going to go out to you. The only thing that I'd like to do different is that I would like to use a start message and an ending message as part of that string, right? So if I did that, this would actually work, right? And so I've sent a post up, I've pulled off those value, and I've sent a JSON reply back. No, it's not really a post at this point because nothing is saved. But let's see if it works, and then we'll make it a post, right? So come back over here. I'm going to click on refresh page, which was probably not necessary. And I'm just going to just put the word hi in front, and then I'm going to add a space. And then after the end, I'm going to add a space and then the word bye. So if I hit set message using Ajax, you can see that I've got my hi, my server time, and then bye. And then I forgot to do it before, but there's also a message in the logs that says what the response was back. So we can see that worked in the logs and also up here. Now what it didn't do is it didn't actually save any data. So if I click on this button to get server time, you can see that it wasn't saved at all, right? So it actually just blew away what was there before, and it just responded with just the current time. And that, to be honest, is expected because the post isn't saving anything and the get's not trying to get it. So let's fix those things, right? So if you want to be a post, you've got to actually modify something. If you want to modify something, you need a data store, and so you need a ndb.model. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a really simple ndb.model. I'm going to call it server time messages, and it's a subclass of ndb.model. Now notice that before, when we've done things like this, we've put it in its own file, but it doesn't have to be in its own file. You can just stick it right here. And I'll just make a couple properties called start message, which is an ndb string property. And then I'll make an ending message, which is also an ndb string property. And you can tell that it's yelling at you, saying, hey, I have no idea what ndb is. Control-Shift-O, fix you right up, buddy. So you can see it imported that thing. If for some reason your Eclipse is not happy with you and Control-Shift-O isn't working, you can always just type these things. All right, so that's my model object. So I should be ready to do things. Now I'm going to need to create an instance using that model object class and save it. I only really need one of these. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a key name and then just always refer to it by that key name. So I'm going to make a constant. I'll call it server time key name. And I could make this string be anything I wanted. What the heck, I'll just call it server time. That seems like a good string. And then what I want to do is I want to create a new object. I'll just call it messages, I guess. So it's a server time messages. And it's going to have an ID of something. And it's going to have a start message of something. And then it's going to have an ending message of something. And you can see that I was not very creative with my variable names. I actually gave them the same variable names in here as what the property is called. So it looks weird to see start time equals start time, but it's because this is the name of the formal parameter, and then this is a variable, and they happen to have the same names. And then the ID, I'm just going to use that constant that we used before. I know that if it's been a while since you've done these things, it's like, oh my gosh, what just happened there? But if you look back at some of the things we did with App Engine, I mean, this is the way you create a constructor for a class, and you pass in its different fields, and so this makes the object. Now, of course, making the object doesn't really do you anything until you call put, right? So once you call put, it actually saves it. And so the post itself can finish without doing anything other than storing. So if we run it again now, I mean, you can run it. You won't actually see any difference. So we'll say, hey, and we'll send that. And you can see it responds with hey and bye. But if I click on get server time, and it's just going to display only the time with no messages, right? And my server was a little slow there, but if I do the post, they're there, and it saves it. If I do the get, it knocks them off, right? So nothing too surprising there. And that's because we need to update our get method to actually use these things, right? So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to get them from the data store. So we'll just say, so I'm up in the get now, messages equals server time messages dot get by ID. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say get by ID. This is a root entity. It has no parents. So we're just going to say get it just like that. And then we're just going to do a check just to make sure it's there. So if there is a message, what we want to do is very similar to what we did down in the put. So we want to just copy this guy right up there. And then if there is no message, what we'd like to do is just what we did before. We'd like to make it simply send back the date time without anything on it. The only thing I need to change from what I copied before is here it's going to be message dot get the start time, and then it's going to be message dot ending time. So that's really the only change there. Great, so save that guy up, and so now those messages should be sticky. So if I go hit refresh on my page and I click on get server time, what it should do is you should fill in the hi and bye that were there before, and you can see that like they're not saved on the client at all, right? They're not in this page. That's why I hit refresh. They're gone. They're saved in the cloud now, right? So I mean, I could close this tab, I could open it back up, and they'd still be saved in the cloud, which is kind of neat. So that's the only thing we had to do. Just to mention it though, you can pass parameters with get methods. So just to kind of goof around with this is kind of a little optional extra. If I wanted to, if I find my get JSON, I could pass in messages here. So let's just say I passed in like messages none, right? So if I passed in, so this is in my JavaScript, if I pass in messages none, I could actually read that on my server if I wanted. And so what I could say is like if there's a message and self.request.get, what would I decide to call it? Messages. If that is true and that is not equal to none, then print that out. So this is just a little optional extra. So this would suppress those messages even though they are actually being saved, right? So this time I do have to hit refresh because I actually changed something on the client. And so you can see now they're not saving those values. And so even if I set them, so I'll say hi and bye, and I click the post, you can see they're there. But right now my get is saying messages none, so I'm not getting those things. Before you submit it though, make sure that you go into your JavaScript and you make it not be messages none. You can still pass messages if you wanted, just don't pass none. And so now when you go refresh, what it should be is if you hit server time, it'll have those hi and bye messages back on there. All right, so I got on a little of a tangent there, just because I wanted to make sure you knew that gets could definitely pass things as well. We didn't pass anything in our get request without that little addition. Make sure you kill it before you submit. And so, speaking of submit, we're done with the server time app. So, assuming you're taking this class for a grade, follow the link in the slides and go submit this URL so that I know you're done with it. That's it for server time. The next thing we're going to do is look at AJAX request and kind of more of a real application and just kind of see how this gets used. All right, see you next time. Bye.